Hey everybody, welcome to the RedZone. Michael Johnson here with you, and it is time to reveal the RedZone top 25 leading into college football's Week 13, also known as Rivalry Week. We only have a couple weeks left. We have Rivalry Week, and then we have Conference Championships, and then we're going to have it locked in, the top four, who will be in the College Football Playoff. Current rankings for the College Football Playoff Committee: number 1, Georgia; number 2, Alabama; number 3, Oregon; and number 4, Ohio State. But it's going to change because Utah, as I've been predicting for 3 weeks now, Utah went out and just took care of Oregon. I said they were overrated. I never had them in my top 4. I just knew ever since the loss of Stanford, they haven't been the same team. Injuries have piled up for the Ducks, and it was just a matter of time before they got beat. They got beat handily by Utah, and so that's going to shake up the College Football Playoff Committee's top 4. But I didn't have the Ducks there. I had them at like 6 or 7. So is there any shakeup with my top 4? And I'll just tell you, no. But there is other shakeups in the top 25. And of course, the Oregon loss was the biggest one of the week. Oklahoma State stays in it, beating Texas Tech. Oklahoma survives Iowa State. Ohio State just absolutely crushed Michigan State and completely knocks them out of contention. And they have the big showdown this week with Michigan. So, Michigan in there in the top 6 as well. So one of those two's out, after this week. So it's a de facto playoff game, the game, as it's called, the biggest rivalry in all of sports. And it's this week. So, a lot on the line. Wisconsin still playing for the Big Ten West. Iowa's still in it as well. So a lot of things to shake up here. You got Oklahoma State playing this week. Bedlam, both teams with one loss. They're both 10-1. And the winner clearly in the Big 12 championship game, possibly a rematch if Oklahoma wins. If Oklahoma State wins, it's likely a rematch of Oklahoma State and Baylor. So a lot is going on this week. But clearly, with Clemson beating Wake Forest, the ACC and the Pac-12 out. No chance at the playoffs going forward. So what is my top 25? And, we're really going to focus on the top 8 here. You'll see the whole list. But the reality is the top 8's all we really need to talk about. So let's take a look right now at my RedZone top 25 headed into Rivalry Week. No change at the top. Georgia number 1. Ohio State number 2, Alabama 3, and Cincinnati at number 4. Now, listen, I've had Ohio State at number 2 for a while, and I've gotten a lot of flack from it because I am an Ohio State fan, and people say I'm showing bias. But listen, Ohio State has the top-ranked offense in the country, first in almost every category. C.J. Stroud's quarterback rating is like 251. He's got a 91% completion percentage. Unbelievable. Georgia, the number 1 defense. Ohio State is the number 2 team in the country, and I do believe you're going to see that reflected this week with the college football playoff rankings. I think Ohio State jumps up there and passes Alabama because Alabama struggled with Arkansas. So I think what you see with my top 4 is probably what you're going to see with the playoff committee. The only difference being it's the playoff committee. They don't have any respect for a group of 5 school like Cincinnati. They're not going to put Cincinnati there. They're going to jump Michigan. So my prediction is going to be Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan as the playoff committee's top 4, although I think they got it wrong. It's all about politics. It's all about corruption. It's about keeping the Power 5 in there, keeping the group of 5 schools out. It's not a true playoff ranking. So, like I've said before, I think we need to get rid of the playoff committee. But anyway, so that is my top 4. Let's go back to at number 5 is Notre Dame. They crushed Georgia Tech. Michigan sits there at 6. Oklahoma State is at 7. Ole Miss at 8. Oklahoma at 9. Houston at number 10. Rounding it out, Louisiana, Oregon. Oregon drops to 12. Baylor at 13. Wisconsin at 14. Michigan State drops to 15. BYU, Utah, with a big win over Oregon. UTSA, Pitt, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Wake Forest, San Diego State, and Iowa rounds out the top 25. Now, let's take a look at basically the top 8 because that's really what matters here. And, I would say 7. The 7 that I have in the top 7 still alive for a playoff spot. Ole Miss at 8, I don't think they have a chance. So what are some of the scenarios that can play out here for the college football playoff? Well, clearly Ohio State and Michigan play each other this week, and one of those two are out. So Georgia and Alabama are going to play in the SEC championship game. That doesn't necessarily knock one out. Clearly, if Alabama wins that game, Alabama and Georgia are in. If Georgia wins that game, but it stays pretty close, just because the playoff committee is so biased in favor of the SEC, the playoff committee pretty much answers to ESPN because ESPN has the playoffs. They want the SEC teams in. If it's a really close game, I'm guessing Alabama stays in at number 4. Ohio State, if they win out, whether it's Ohio State or Michigan, they got to win out. So if Ohio State wins the game and then loses to Wisconsin, or Michigan beats Ohio State and loses in the Big Ten championship game, it knocks them both out. It really does. So there's a chance they could both of them could get knocked out. My prediction is Ohio State's going to go ahead and run the table. They'll beat Michigan. I think they're going to go ahead and beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. They pretty much have Wisconsin's number when it comes to the Big Ten championship. And Ohio State's going to be in the playoffs. Georgia's going to be in the playoffs, win or lose to Alabama. Then it just depends what plays out for 3 and 4, really. Or the other 2 spots, I should say. So, but I don't think they're going to want Cincinnati in there. So, despite Cincinnati's head-to-head win with Notre Dame, if it comes right down to it, they'll jump Notre Dame over Cincinnati at the end to make sure Cincinnati stays out of the playoffs. That's what the playoff committee is going to do. I think it's pretty obvious. Anybody who knows anything, who's paid any attention to the college football playoffs since its inception in 2014, knows that there's no chance in hell of Cincinnati getting in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. So, Oklahoma State still somewhat alive if they run the table. That means they beat Oklahoma. Well, they probably once. If they would beat Oklahoma, turn around, beat Baylor again. Maybe an outside shot. The best chance for Oklahoma State would be for Michigan to beat Ohio State and then turn around and lose to Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. That, I think, could see Notre Dame and Oklahoma State jumping up there and getting 2 of those spots, and then Alabama and Georgia having the other 2 spots. And I don't think, I think Oklahoma's out of it, even if they win out. Just losing late in the season. They hadn't really played anybody. The first good team they played was Baylor, and they lost. Iowa State, with their 4 losses, the win this past week wasn't that big of a win for Oklahoma. And they even struggled in that game, and Caleb Williams, who is, after the win against Texas, you had Kirk Herbstreit saying he's the game changer. He's going to be the face of college football. He's a once-in-a-generation player, and that hasn't panned out right now. He hasn't been able to throw the ball very well at all. He's got legs and he can run. He is a great quarterback, don't get me wrong, but to say he's a generational player, a once-in-a-lifetime, that was far-fetched after one game, and it's proving that may not necessarily be the case. Oklahoma's offense still struggling. Their defense has played a lot better in the last 2 weeks, but still not top tier by any means. So I think Oklahoma is out of it. So anyway, that is my top 25. Again, my top 4, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Cincinnati. That hasn't changed since last week. Rivalry week coming up. Not sure if I'll get a top 25 put out next week heading into the conference championship games. I'm going to be out of town traveling for Thanksgiving. I'm going to try to do one on the road, but I can't promise that. But hey, Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern or 10 a.m. Eastern time, we'll have our picks for Rivalry Week. Sean and I will have those up. You can take a look at those. So far, I think I was 15-3 this past week with my picks for college football. Unbelievable week for me. Only missing 3 games out of 18. I mean, it was pretty incredible. So tune in Monday and see what my picks are for Rivalry Week. Hey guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Hit that like on the video and always leave your comment. Love to hear what you guys have to say. And hey, we're almost done. We're wrapping up the regular season. We're heading into championship December, basically. So it's an exciting time. Hey, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe if you're traveling, and we'll see you next time. Take care.